episode. I think we're on 30.
Episode 30. Okay.
So far.
Yes. I mean, that's quite a bit. It's episode 2 in the new phase, this new school year. So episode 30 in all. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's been interesting. I just got done with my clients. I was like, I wasn't sure about myself. This is me doubting myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then my clients are like, oh God, I can't wait to come back next week, And it's just like, I knew that I had that in me, but I really just doubted myself. Like, why? I don't know, but yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up doubt, because what I wanted to talk about today was my QHHT session, which, for anybody that doesn't know, that's quantum healing hypnosis therapy. And part of that was through meditation a couple days ago after the session, was about clearing away doubt and seeing where it's coming from. Because a lot of the things that we're picking up on or that we're experiencing in this life aren't necessarily from us. So, sometimes we come in with phobias, we come in with fears that don't seem to have a place. I know I have a lot of social anxieties and things that are just weird. So in my QHHT session, we went through, and then I had a meditation it was Monday. And some of the things got confirmed, because that's kind of how it works, is you have the session and then you get all these little like aha moments afterwards. And so I kind of went into meditation and went back through the same kind of portals that I did through the session, and was brought to a place where they were showing me, this is why you're having so much doubt. So that's interesting that you bring up doubt, because it's something that I'm working on as well. And I think a lot of us go through this where we're like, the world has conditioned us to think that we're crazy if we follow our intuition, if we follow our gifts, if we are these spiritual people, that, it can't be real.
What I just did is like exactly what I just did. I was like bringing up the subject, and I didn't even know, that that's what you were going to talk about, because I didn't know we didn't have a subject. So I had no clue, and just like that right there, just that right there.
That's
like
the synchronicity right there.
Don't ever doubt your abilities. Don't ever doubt it. And if you, so don't ever shut up. Don't ever listen to people when they tell you to shut up either. Just don't.
Yeah.
Don't.
Well,
Don't
I think it comes down to, for me personally, I think it comes down to my sacral chakra, trauma that has occurred, sexual trauma that's occurred in early life has damaged that, has caused damage to the natural flow of energy. And so that's where, where confidence comes from. And so when we have traumas in the lower chakra area, it can do a lot of damage, and I think that's a lot of why that program, and I do think of sexual trauma as a program, because I think it's programmed in people to occur and then to be passed down, and and it's set up that way on purpose to damage us, to put us in a place where we don't have the confidence and the abilities that we naturally would have. Trauma and things like that.
Inhibitions. It lowers our inhibitions. It literally changes the way our brain develops at that point. So whatever point that was, that from then on, our brain will develop differently. Period. Yeah. And they know.
Speaking of brain developing, I don't know if there was some kind of black magic that happened that caused me to completely forget it. It's not beyond the idea, but I don't know if maybe my mind just tucked it away, knowing that it was traumatic for me, but I didn't remember what had happened until I was in my teens. So, and even now, I don't remember everything in detail, and I don't necessarily want to remember the details of it. I remember the subject matter. I remember what happened. But there's a detachment there. There's a separation. And I think whether it was me that did it or whether there was some kind of trickery that went on to make me forget, it severed the connection there, and then it caused a lot of damage. So that has affected my self-esteem, how I see myself, how I treat myself, how I allow others to treat me, has stemmed from trauma. um and now as an adult looking back on it, and I'm going, okay, I need to heal this because I no longer want to be a victim. I don't want to continue this cycle. I don't want to carry out this cycle. Of course, I'm not in a position where I want to carry out this cycle physically with anyone else, but I am carrying it out on myself in a damaging way. And so what I've been doing since I've been doing this healing for my sexual trauma in the last couple of months is now doing Reiki with removing that and shining light. So anytime I have some kind of thought or something that's negative in that area, I am, instead of having a negative thought, I'm going forward with shining light on my sacral chakra.
Exactly. There's so much healing that comes from that. We can't even imagine. Just our very attention, just giving the attention that our body needs. I was talking to Joel about that too today. But just the very idea of giving your body the attention that it needs is helping it, you know? But just like you were saying, the system, we've been kind of raised by a very narcissistic system that causes trauma when we're younger. And when that happens, it's basically MK Ultra at that point, because it makes us more susceptible. And they do it for a reason. But also we end up getting implants and stuff in our bodies through the years, and we don't even know. And that's half the reason why we don't remember. And some of it is for our benefit and some of it isn't, so, but all of it can be used for the betterment. That's the best part, is that God can turn everything that has happened to us and negatively to a positive. And so, and that drives the dark crazy, because no matter what they seem to do, we end up turning it around for good.
Yeah. And the caveat, the catch-22, or I don't know how to word this. The best part about it is that we're not just healing it for ourselves; we're healing it on a collective level.
And our ancestors, our lineage.
So, honestly, if they were smart, they would just leave us alone and let us have a wonderful life, because then we'd learn nothing. You know what I mean? Give us everything without having to do anything for it. And don't give us any struggles. And then we wouldn't spend any time trying to heal ourselves. We wouldn't spend any time, focusing inward. Honestly, it's the darkness that makes us seek our light. It is the traumas that we go through that force us to have to look for an alternative way to deal with things that aren't drugs, that aren't escapism, that aren't negative things. And some people can't get past that, but for those who can get past the physical distractions and who are willing to deal with their stuff, they look at their life, they heal everything, and then they help others to do the same. And so with that being said, I want to say thank you to the darkness for forcing me to become a bright, shining light. And in that statement, I'm transmuting all of the darkness. And that kind of thing drives them crazy, because to thank them for traumatizing me, finding gratitude and forgiveness, that's not something that's expected of us. We're not expected to turn around and say, thank you for teaching me how to be strong. Thank you. They think that we're going to stay traumatized and repeat the behaviors, repeat this on other people, repeat this on ourselves. And we've gotten past that point. And now we're turning around and saying, I forgive you. I release you. I no longer want to be bound to this karmic cycle. And I'm releasing myself. I'm releasing you. And that is how we reach freedom. That's got to drive them crazy.
Yeah, like forgiveness, that's the thing. Forgiveness isn't, saying that the trauma or the people that traumatize us, it's not justifying the behavior.
Yeah, it's not okay. What happened.
It's severing our attachment to the actual trauma, to the actual pain, to the actual action. And it helps us like forgiveness isn't condoning what happened to us at all. At all. What it's
It's
doing is
accepted.
allowing us,
Mhm.
it's freedom from that trauma. And not only freedom from the trauma, but then freedom from ever having to deal with it ever again. And I
Yeah.
think that people misunderstand why we forgive. We're not forgiving that person so we can welcome them back in our life. Fuck no. Excuses.
No, I'm not going to reach out to the person who abused me and say, "Hey, how you doing? I forgive you." That's not how
Not
forgiveness
it.
for me works. It's forgiveness.
I
I'm
am.
sending out an energy. And honestly, forgiveness has been tough because I don't feel like it's something that comes from me. I feel like it's something divine and I have to request it. And maybe it does come from me, but it's not something that naturally I know how to do. And so people are like, it's not just saying I forgive you. I actually ask for forgiveness to be placed in my heart for it to take over the situation because it's something I'm not capable of doing. I have to look at the situation and say, I want to forgive this. I don't know how. Please put forgiveness in my heart, and then I speak the words I forgive, and then it becomes an action. So it's not just going up to somebody and say I forgive you and then letting them walk all over you. It is an actual spiritual you know experience ceremony of getting in touch with the divine and I don't want to say asking, requesting that forgiveness be granted to me, to them, and the most important thing is forgiving myself. That's what I've learned, is that I have traumatized myself worse than anyone has ever traumatized me in my life because they might have done something to me one time, but I've repeated that to myself over and over and over for years and punished myself because of what others have done to me, what I've done to others, what has happened. So I have been the biggest traumatizer in my life. And I think that's what they want, is to, create people who just walk around traumatizing themselves and others. And so now that I'm past that, I'm like, okay, no, I don't want to say I'm past that. Now that I'm working on that, I'm turning it around and trying to look at it in a different way and forgive,
Yeah.
forgive, let it go, and move on to the next thing. But it's not easy. It's been a couple of months of me working on this childhood trauma. I mean, it might have happened a couple of occurrences, but I've lived this my whole life. So it's not just going to be I forgive and then it's gone. In some instances it is, but things that are deep seated take time, take work, take a lot of different angles to look at it, because there are a lot of aspects to um to our lives. It's not just one shot. Every day something else comes up and I'm going, oh, I need to look at it in a different direction. I need to look at it this way. Oh, I never realized that.
Yeah.
And
Changing
yeah.
our perception of it changes after we take that first step. And it really just is a willingness to be willing. You only have to be willing to be willing. Understand, it's just that mustard seed of willingness in you that can transform you. And I learned that in AA, actually working the 4-step with my sponsor and getting all of that shit on paper, and
Yeah.
then looking at it in step 5 and seeing what my part in it was, you
Yeah.
know and that part is important too, because unfortunately I played a part in in a lot of I'm going to say a lot of the trauma I received in my life because of my choices. It was my choices, but unfortunately my choices were based off of programming and conditioning.
Mhm.
So, place the blame where it needs to be. The system is narcissistic, you know. Also, everyone blaming God. Like, why you blame God for people's behavior? God didn't do that. People did, and it's like, put the blame where it belongs. You're literally blaming some imaginary thing that has been created in religion for somebody's literal behavior. So someone on this planet that's flesh and bone like you and me, we're taking the blame off of that person that literally did the deed and putting it on God.
Like, God, why did you let this happen
It
to
had
me?
nothing to do with anything. So literally you're blaming. See, this is something that came up too. I was like, why are people blaming a deity or an entity that's created? It could be man-made, right? Over the person that did the deed that's flesh and bone in front of you. No, God didn't let that happen. That person did. That person is responsible.
And honestly, on a soul level, we agreed to this when we came here. We sat in front of this person, that person sat in front of us, and we said, I don't necessarily want to hurt you in this lifetime, but this is what we're going to do so that we can learn our lessons. And a lot of people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that you signed up to be raped. They don't want to hear that you signed up to have your child taken from you, to have your child kidnapped or murdered. They don't want to hear that kind of thing. And I understand, because on a physical level and as a mother, it's traumatic to hear that kind of thing. But there's a lesson in everything that we're learning. And I've actually had people, on some social media, when I talked about attachment, getting offended, saying, well, what about the mother who's lost their child? And I'm going, you have to let go of all attachments. Your trauma is coming from your attachment to the person. We are only here for this experience. I'm not saying that if something happened to my daughter that it wouldn't be traumatic for me, but
I don't even know if I would live through it. Honestly,
yeah,
I really don't know if I would live through it. I understand.
But I don't understand the reasons why we signed up for what we signed up. I can't guess, but we're all here for a reason, to experience these different things, to work off our karma, to get off of this loop and this cyclical this cycle of death and rebirth. My goal is not to come back and do it all over again. My goal is to forgive everything in this life, release myself from the bonds of this life, and to ascend. That is my ultimate goal in this life, is to wake up and become one with God, with source, with everything that is, and no longer ride this roller coaster. Go back to source and share my experiences, and then I don't know what happens after that, but that is where I want to go. I don't necessarily want to keep doing this over and over, because I feel like I have done this quite a few times, and maybe I did it the wrong way a bunch of times and had to come back and experience a lot of trauma in this life, because in the past lives I might have been the one causing the trauma. And I think Dolores Cannon says that sometimes we're the person that's starving someone, and then we're the starved. So it comes back. We have to work off what we've done in the past life. So maybe the trauma that I've had to endure in this life is because of that. And so I have to kind of come to a level of acceptance, understanding, and then forgiveness of the situation, because ultimately forgiveness is freedom, not just in this life, freedom out of this life, after this life, beyond this life. So it's more, forgiveness is more than just right now, when somebody's, steps on my toe and, oh, I forgive you. It's deeper than that. It's not just excusing someone's behavior. It's freeing myself from repeating the karmic cycle. So that ultimately is why I forgive, not because someone deserves it, because ultimately I'll never get an I'm sorry from 90% of the people, because 90% of them think that they're right. 90% of them don't think that they did anything wrong to you. They think that you're the one that owes them an apology. And in some cases I am, in some cases I am. And unfortunately, there are situations where I can't offer that apology in person.
I actually chose not to in certain instances. I chose to apologize from distance and forgive myself and let it go from here, and just never deal with that person, because I had to set boundaries. And my guides were like, it doesn't matter how you set your boundary after you've experienced trauma from this person. The only thing that matters is that you're sticking up for yourself. So however it comes across is how it comes across. Oh, well, if they don't like it, then maybe they should not have traumatized you. I mean, gee, they didn't take your feelings into consideration when they did what they did, so
Well, and a
these
lot of people aren't conscious of their behaviors. They're living in a state of, in a different state. Let's just say that. I don't want to define things
in a
with
state of
judgment.
perpetual
Or they're in pain.
what am I trying to say? Distraction. They're in a state of perpetual distraction. That means they're running from one trauma to the next trauma to the next trauma. They're never dealing with their shit. And any shit that they end up, they just project it on other people. So they think that when they think that they're literally cutting people off for their own peace, they're literally traumatized someone, and then we're extremely toxic by not allowing that person to express how they have felt treated by that behavior. Okay, so yeah, they're not exactly in the right, but they think they are, unfortunately.
Well,
That's
and in some ways, in their mind, they might have framed it to where they can deal with it, and they look at it in a way that they are right. A lot of, I've looked into narcissism, and it is an actual um,
there's something wrong.
actual, like a mental illness that rewires the brain to where they physically or literally cannot see themselves at fault. That in order for that to happen, their brain like malfunctions. Like they just cannot put themselves
They
in the state.
cannot.
Like it's just wired completely different. And I can't understand it. But, I've done quite a bit of research on narcissism because I've dealt with quite a few. Being an empath, we tend to be attracted to or they attract to us. We're magnets for each other until we're healed. I think that's the thing. A lot of empaths talk about, oh, my narcissist, oh, this or that. Until we start our healing journey, yeah, that's what we're attracting because we're an open wound.
Well, got to understand that this just came through. So not everybody is exactly narcissist. They have narcissistic tendencies because we
Yeah.
were raised by narcissists.
Yeah,
And
because I can have those tendencies too. And I look back at my past before my near death experience, and I was very much a narcissist.
I was
Everything was about me. But at the same time, I
exactly,
was
yeah.
supplementing being an empath. I was putting that on top of because I felt this way, and then I saw that narcissistic behavior modeled, so I was imitating the narcissism. So I think as empaths, we can copy, and then like a chameleon, we can copy that behavior and act out as narcissists, definitely. And that, like you said, I don't want to label because it's not black and white. You know what I mean? It's
Exactly.
not 100% narcissism or 100% empath. There's not a divide. We share tendencies, and it's all in what we choose to do. We can choose to make ourselves the center of attention and fuck everybody else, or we can choose to make ourselves the center of self-care and love everyone else through loving ourselves first, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely, because like, what was I saying? Yeah, being an empath. Now, one thing, like you were saying, a narcissist doesn't know that they're narcissists, nor will they ever. I mean, I can't say ever. Okay, I'll take that back because even I can't. With God, all things are possible. We'll just put that there. However, a narcissist, a true narcissist, does not know, nor do they give a fuck if they're narcissist. They don't care enough to find out. They're never going to find out. Okay, it's when they have enough consequences or life that they finally wake up and say, "Oh my God, I was wrong." But then
Well,
in the
that
end,
to me says MK Ultra. That says programming. You know what I
exactly,
mean? If you can wake up from something, then it was a program.
exactly,
So
exactly.
I honestly
Not only
believe that
that,
narcissism is a program. I think that we're all empathic underneath. I think we're all psychic and intuitive. And a lot of us have a stronger program. Some of us have, you know, have the ability to wake up from that program.
they're
So it's
planted
not
in.
to excuse that behavior, but we have to accept it and forgive it regardless. You know, it's not to say that getting beaten by a husband is acceptable, but as that woman, you can't just say, okay, I can never forgive him and then stay stuck in that situation. No, you have to find freedom for yourself.
Or keep
You know,
forgiving him over and over and over. See, that's where we draw the line. This is what we were talking about earlier with forgiveness. No, you don't forgive that person to bring them back into your life and traumatize you again. You forgive that person to let them go and detach yourself from the trauma and pull back your energy, pull back your power, and no longer am going to be a victim. But what I was going to say earlier is also PTSD, BPD. A lot of that is implants. That is straight programming and conditioning from narcissism and trauma. There's bottom line. There is, I mean, that's where it comes from. And also implants, because we do get implants a little bit on the outer skirts of what we think is normal. Yes, we do unfortunately get implants. Now, some of them have been, like I said, all of them have been soul contracted to have. Some of them are for the good because we don't need to deal with that shit right away. Like, let's just say we deal with something extremely narcissistic or abusive that would break a person. It would break.
Yeah, I'm grateful for the fact that I don't remember what happened to me as a small child. I got to enjoy my childhood not knowing any of that, not being in fear. Now, I still had a lot of I still acted out in different ways and didn't know the source of it. But I got to enjoy childhood because I didn't remember that. So I'm grateful for not being able to remember what happened, but at the same time, you know, do I wish it had never happened in the first place? That would be great.
That would have been better.
You know, it does affect my relationship with my child and her father. And I hate to admit that, but um because that kills me to have that thought in my mind, that to not trust any man with my daughter ever. And my husband loves me, loves my daughter. He would never do anything like that, but to have that programmed in me, to have fear over over that kind of thing. And then what releases me from that is realizing that God has a plan, that we've signed up for everything. I can't control everything around me. I can't control what happens everywhere. I can set up preventions, you know, like not letting my daughter go places, or do, you know, with people that I don't know, and situations like that. And I'm always cautious, but I wish that I didn't have that fear in me. I mean, I guess it's a good thing because it protects, you know, it's protecting, but I don't enjoy living or feeling that fear as a mother.
Right. That's like me too, just because like mine was more of other kids, like just generally a little bit older kids being around, left alone with other kids. And the older kids with the younger kids wasn't a good idea, but
I feel like honestly that's a lot where a lot of the trauma comes from, is just from older children, not necessarily some creepy
not even being mean. It's not like they were being mean. They were just like mooning us. And I got the whole package and everything. I don't want to see that shit when I'm like 4, 5, 6 years old. But anyways,
I mean, even that can be traumatic. Just a small thing, or just I mean, and not to call any, not to say anyone in particular, but to say siblings, that one's a bit older than the other, and one's been exposed to something by a girl, and then comes home and tries that with their sister. You know what I mean? That can be extremely traumatic. It's not necessarily the neighbor next door. Sometimes it's a family member who doesn't know that something's wrong, but has been exposed to something else. And so this is definitely coming down to programming, you know, with children.
11 years older than me. So my sister's friends were around me, you know, so there you go. I'm not saying that she had anything to do with it. I'm not saying that at all. By any means. I don't blame my trauma on anyone except for the person that did it. So I don't want anyone to think that ever, but I was exposed to with older children and stuff, and they didn't really, I don't think they meant it in a mean way, but they were just repeating the same behavior that they saw. So
Yeah.
going in the closet and doing deeds and then coming out, and that was for older kids and not for the younger kids. Unfortunately, that's how I got exposed. So it's like, who do you blame? I mean, there's really no one to blame. It's just unfortunate that happened, but it is what it is. And so I just move forward, and I'm glad, like you said, that I did have an implant or whatever it was that made me not remember, so that I could have a semi-normal childhood, and like you said, I did walk on eggshells. I was extremely empathetic. That caused me to be extremely intuitive, because I wanted to know what was going to happen before it happened so that I could react properly. And so
Yeah.
that's where we
That
get our
abuse definitely does that. You have to walk on eggshells. I mean, even just physical abuse, experiencing physical abuse as a child, and honestly, I think that my mother's version of discipline and my version of what I think abuse are, it could be completely different. So for her, it's just discipline. For me, it was abusive. And that's how she rationalizes that her behavior was okay, because maybe that was what was done to her and passed down. So we're here to break these cycles and not repeat them in our families, in ourselves, in our children, and not continue to pass these bad behaviors, these program behaviors down any further. So with my daughter, we have a therapist. She's had a therapist since she was I want to say 5. And we talk about different ways of disciplining, but sometimes I have to make threats, and then I feel horrible afterwards, because it's like parenting is not easy. Parenting does not come with a handbook. Every kid is different, especially kids that are that I the way that I raised my daughter is to be empowered, is to stand in her power. Well, then I want to discipline her for standing in her power and raising her voice and speaking her mind. I'm raising her to be an independent person, but that backfires when she doesn't want to do her homework,
Yeah.
because she's like, I choose not to do this. And I said, well, we don't have a choice at this present time. We have a plan in mind to homeschool you when you get into middle school. But from this point from now until middle school, we have to play by the rules of the government Rockefeller Education Center
Yeah.
education center system.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily aligned with it. I'm not a fan of it. If they bring the things back, if you know what I'm saying, over the mouth, I will look into homeschooling a little sooner. Because for me, that, and not to get on a tangent, but for me, that is more conditioning. That's more programming.
It is.
That comes down to taking away identities and programming. And I'm seeing it with my niece. She, they're like, you cannot go to the bathroom. You have to go to the bathroom between periods. Like they're breaking your physical needs. They're breaking and breeding this workforce. It is all about programming, conditioning, and breaking down. What does that sound like to you? That sounds like abuse.
Sounds like it.
What you know what I mean? You're not allowed to go to the bathroom when you need to go to the bathroom. You have to sit through class for an hour. If I have to go to the bathroom, I'm getting up and going to the bathroom saying F you. So I'm not down with that. So I don't think that my daughter and I will do well in middle school. So we're gonna homeschool at that point, and we've talked about it quite a bit. She's asked me if she could homeschool now, and I'm not equipped to teach basic level English or math.
You don't need. You don't
Yeah.
need. There's programs on the computer and on YouTube to help homeschooling. You don't need anything. The material has already been created. This is like my coaching. I want to go into parenting in a minute, but this is the same as coaching. All of the information is already prepared for you. You don't need it. Don't worry about that stuff. The only thing you have to do is do it, because the material is there when you need it. It's already been prepared for you. We're not going to be pioneers in that. Thank God. Someone else already did all that stuff for us. Woo! Thank
Well,
you for.
I mean, I guess it does. I'm not ready for that yet. I want a little bit of maturity in her right now. I guess I'm okay with her, working it out in school. Um,
Same.
homework is hard. And I think that honestly, it's why do they have to go to school for 6 hours and then come home for an hour and rehearse what they've just learned all day in school? It does nothing. The science or they've done studies that shown that homework has no benefit.
Yep.
So I don't understand why we are tortured with our children when all I want to do is let her play. I absolutely love summertime. My kid doesn't wear shoes. She barely brushes her hair. She looks like a wild woman. The neighbors know her as the kid with no shoes. She runs wild, and I love that. That's how she's supposed to be. She's not supposed to be um being conditioned at this point. It's just in an ideal world, I would like things to be a lot different. So
Yeah, I get you. But like, and that's so funny that you brought up parenting because that was a subject that we were discussing with my clients a little bit ago. And just like me, I'm just like, all the information is there. I just have to be the person to go get the information and present it. That's what it's crazy. Like, it's already been written, you know? Oh yeah, that's funny that you talked about parenting because that was what we were talking about with my clients. Like one of the main things, dude, our parents did the best that they could, and they more than likely had been traumatized and abused themselves in some way, shape, or form throughout their life, and more than likely never dealt with it because who deals with shit like that? And
Well,
it's so
if you think about MK Ultra and programming, a lot of our parents were military. So think about that. Where this programming is coming from, it's not like it's that far fetched.
I'm
you know.
not kidding. You're not kidding because I'm looking and I've been having to go through my. I am the keeper of the family photos, and I'm talking family photos from the time they could take pictures. So we're talking 1800s, early 1900s. These pictures,
Oh, cool.
and it's very cool. But I'm the keeper of all this information, and yeah, they're in the military. I have the one like photos from Japan from the 30s, and I'm like, dang, that's pretty awesome. Like I'm going through my stuff and I'm learning my stuff, and I'm on Ancestry just putting in the family tree because I wanted to do the family tree in there. And so
Yeah,
I'm not
I would love to find out my genealogy and the DNA stuff, but you got me fucked up
so
if I'm gonna
much.
send off my DNA somewhere.
No, I'm not doing that. And it's fake.
Yeah.
It's come out to be fake anyway. So don't even waste your money. It's not real. The thing is with your DNA, the only reason, how else do you think they can track our DNA progress?
Well,
How
that's the
else
thing.
they
They
can
as
track?
soon as you come into this world, you have a medical ID. They know all of our information. They already have all of our DNA. They already know who we are. So
They
it's comical to think about. The only reason I'm not sending off my DNA is because I'm not consenting to someone doing anything to it. Not
no.
because I'm worried about them having it. They already have it. They already know it. It's in the medical
It is.
system. But I'm not going to send it off consenting and giving my consent to anyone to play
Yeah,
with
I
it.
don't consent to anyone using my DNA against my free will without my knowledge or prior authorization. Thank you. Um, hmm. I'm lighting another incense because I have my incense. Oh my god, I love this stuff. This one is Go Away Evil,
Nice.
and this one's Positive Vibes. So positive vibes. Um, so what else was I thinking? Oh yeah, the parenting though. Yeah, our parents they just did the best that they could, raising us and trying to survive, and their parents did the same thing before that, and the same thing before that. And the other thing about therapy and life coaching, um, anything like that has a taboo. Any type of canceling, it's like taboo. It's like, oh, you're going to therapy. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. No, it's not. It's actually a good thing. Going and
Yeah.
having a life
I'd
coach.
rather go to therapy than go to a psychiatrist. I mean, there's a big difference than medicating or talking about it. I mean, it's like two
Indeed,
different
they're
directions.
necessary. They are all necessary. You know, you have the study of the different types of
Oh, I just meant medicating instead of doing therapy, and you know what I mean. Just not saying using them in conjunction. I'm just saying drugs instead of talking about it. You know, it can go one direction or the other.
well, that goes in like we were taught. We've been taught to go from one trauma to the next and never deal with our shit. And then when you need to go to therapy, they're like, oh my God, I'm sorry all that happened to you. And I'm like, well, thanks for your upbringing. Your upbringing brought me to therapy. Thank you so much, you know, but it's like your parenting gave me BPD, you know, that's awesome, you know, thanks. But it's like, you know, we can't blame them though. It's like they did the best they could. My mom was so abused that my uncle had to step in because my grandfather almost beat my mom to death, and she was blind in one eye and deaf because of it. You know, deaf in one ear, and she had hard of hearing. Literally beat almost to death from her dad, and she left. She ended up marrying my dad, and my dad and my mom were married for almost 60 years. You know, so it's like she went right from that trauma to my dad and getting married, and then she had my sister, and then of course my sister probably was abused, and I'm not saying anything like that or anything against it or for it or anything. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is, of course, like, duh, that's all she knew. That's all she knew was narcissism and anger and beatings and being abused and not knowing if dinner was going to be on the floor that night. You know, she had to live on eggshells. And my, you know, it's like, of course. And a lot of our family had to do that, you know,
Well, like
unfortunately.
my grandfather, he was in the military and he was in Panama when he was diagnosed with schizophrenia because he was seeing the spirits of his people that he had killed, people that had fought alongside him. And so he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. I think he was just and I talked to him through a mediumship reading. I think he was just
Fantastic.
very in tune, and didn't know how to deal with any of that. I think he was seeing and hearing things that weren't, that weren't of this world, and so he got a diagnosis with
Shaman.
schizophrenia. Yeah,
That's a shaman or a spiritualist. See, if we were raised the way we're meant to be, we would have a spiritualist and a medicine man or woman, for that matter. In every tribe, there is a medicine woman. There's a medicine man. There's a spiritualist. There's, you know what I mean? We all have a place in a family. We're
yeah.
all, and we
Well,
still do. We
and the
still
way my family has conditioned themselves is, oh, grandpa was schizophrenic, so we all have mental illness running in the family. And I'm going, it's not mental illness, it's
shaman.
spiritual awareness. It's
He's a
yeah,
shaman.
it's we're spiritually connected, and we're medicating ourselves so that we don't hear these connections. So i
Instead of
stopped i stopped taking the prescribed stuff, and I don't have mood swings. I don't have all of the stuff. I had moods. I had more mental illness on the mental illness medication than I do off of it. I mean,
there's a
it caused me to have these tendencies. It caused me to be bipolar. It caused me to be a crazy person. Without it, I'm more stable. Maybe I believe in things that the normies, see as a crazy person, and therefore they think that I'm a nut job, and that's okay. They can think whatever they want to think. I agree. I am a little nutty, and I enjoy it. I like it. I embrace it, and I'm okay with that. I'm not off killing people because I want to believe in the universe and spirits. It's not making me a violent person. um it's making me deal with my shit and move on. I'm not stuck in it, um so yeah, so label me crazy whether I'm on medication or I'm not. It doesn't really matter. I prefer to be the way that I am, and I'm happy with it.
exactly. I just shared that not too long ago, yesterday or the day before. I said, I keep sharing these numbers, and I'm like, people asking me why I share these numbers, and I'm like, well, it's to activate your DNA, or I'm just crazy. Either way, it doesn't matter. I don't care. I don't care anymore. Like, you think I'm weird I don't care. And
Well,
I'm sharing those synchronicities because I'm gonna get into the current energy and shit because they have increased tenfold, have increased, like literally forwards and backwards numbers for me.
Well,
Just
I
like,
will say that when I first woke up, it was numbers that woke me up. I was listening to binaural beats, and then it turned into Cryon, and then it was when I found Paul White Gold Eagle that he was saying, when he does his transmissions, it's just random numbers, and then he share, like whenever something pops, a number pops in his head at activation, he'll say that number, and then he just continues talking. So he'll say this coming in, 144 coming in, 1111 coming in, just random stuff. But it was that activation, those numbers activated me and woke me up, got me to listen, got me to resonate with what he was saying. It did something, it triggered something in my brain that a normal word I wasn't paying attention to. You know what I mean? Where the number, I'm going, what? Christ, divine Christ light? What does this mean? Like what? And so I started writing down these numbers and writing down what he was saying associated with the number. So every time he would say this, I would put that together. 25 would mean this, 25. And then they would change. I'm going, okay, what does that mean? And it didn't necessarily have a meaning, but it resonated with me, and it got me to start listening and start waking up. And yeah, it was, so numbers definitely activate people,
they do.
and it's so funny because I hear recently, the last couple of days, I've been reading all of these things talking about the grand solar flash, that disclosure is upon us, like everything's imminent, it's happening now. And of course, my brain is in doubt, as we talked about before. And it's like, well, how many times have we heard this before? But the solar flash woke me up. In 2020, the winter solstice, it was a solar flare that woke me up. So if it could happen for me, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen, wham bam, and it might. So I
Though.
have to remember that the solar flares activated me, the numbers activated me, all of these things. If I'm awake, because then it can happen for other people. I have this doubt, like, well, nobody else is ever going to wake up. Well, I woke up. You woke up. You know what I mean? There are some of us that were living a completely sleeper life, and something triggered us to wake up. So to have this doubt, oh, it'll never happen. It's happened for me. Why can't it happen for someone else?
Happened for me.
So, yeah, you know what I mean? There are so many of us that we went from living our life on sleeper mode, just whatever. And then all of a sudden, bam, something happened. And then we look back and we go, but I was dabbling in this. I was into crystals. I picked up angel cards 13 years ago. Why did I do that? Even though I was unconscious. Why did I pick up crystals 13, in 2012? Why did I start getting into crystal healing? What did that even mean at that time? Because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the significance of it. And so we start doing this, connect the dots, that all along we've been guided. We just were sleeping through it. You know what I mean? And so now that we're awake and we're going, holy crap, all these dots connected, all of these events happened, and we're going, oh, that's why that happened. Oh, that's why that happened. So I have to remember that kind of thing, because I get into doubt when I see my husband and I'm like, he's never going to wake up. He's just going to keep drinking himself to death. But then I look back and I go, he's had aha moments. And I know that when he has that wake up moment, those are going to connect the dots, because they connect dots for me,
I'm kind of relying on that at this time. I'm actually relying on that at this time because obviously dudes come a long fucking way. I can't complain.
Yeah. I mean, they change, just not at all, just not the way we want them to. And I think that's part of our having to let go of control.
It's actually that's sad part is that they don't need to. They don't need to. It's us. It's our journey. We have to just let them be. That's the hard part. But we also have to be honest with ourselves. Is it something that have our wants and needs changed? Is what I want different than what it was before? All right. It doesn't, it's not even a bad or good thing. It has nothing to do with that. It's just that we're different. And that's with me and Joel. We grew apart. And we're completely different people. We have different interests. I'm not the same person. And a lot of that is because I was failing to be authentic with me and myself, my feelings, and I was stuffing my feelings and not sharing myself, not being authentic. But then at the same time, I had been, like I said, we were dealing with trauma. I had no idea I was dealing with trauma. I had no idea I was running and running and running. And then once my parents died and I had no choice but to deal with the emotions, then I was like forced, because I was either, it was life or death for me in January, February. I was about out on this planet. I about really just wanted to leave this planet. I really did. I didn't want to be on this planet anymore. And I had to just get to the point where I had to reach out for help. And sometimes we have to reach the point of desperation. And I think that that's on that movie, The Day the Earth Stood Still, with Keanu Reeves, where they're at the blackboard and they're like, he's talking to the professor. He needs to see it. He's talking to the professor, and the professor's like, but it's at the epitome of disaster that people grow. That's when we grow. That's when we change. We have to reach that epitome in order to change. And that's where we become willing to change. And until that point, we're almost in a box. Like nobody can throw stuff at us. It doesn't hit us. We're not paying any attention. We're a brick, just like our husbands, brick.
Well, yeah, if someone would have came up to me and told me everything, all of the things that I know now 4 years ago, I would have been like, you're insane. Even when my mom came to me and started telling me things about the political stuff, and my mom was like, one of these truthers before I even woke up, and she's posting all of this stuff and all of this stuff about the children and all, discussing things. And I'm going, you're insane. Like, you're a crazy person. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, have you lost your mind? And I'm sitting there like telling her that she's lost her mind. And then she comes over my house and she point blank looks me in the face and tells me that she's seen a video of X, Y, and Z, and this is real. And I was literally shocked into a place where I'm going, that can't be real. That's like, are you okay? Like, what are you messing with me? Are you fucking with me? Like, what? I called her for like a week straight, every single day. Are you fucking with me? Like, what are you like? Just in shock. And I think that was the breaking away of that veil. This was all in the same time frame, the solar flare, and that I in the solstice. Me finding Paul White Gold Eagle. It was all within like 2 weeks. Like, she comes over point blank. That was like, I think that was like the pinnacle, like the apex, the moment where I was like, all right, I cannot go any further. I can't keep going down backwards. I have to keep going forward. And it just woke me up. Like, there was just so many things all in that same time frame that were like bam, 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 bam. And there was no way to go back. So we have to keep sharing our truths, because even if people think that we are lunatics, it might be that one thing, that one number that we share, that one random thing that gets someone to go, what?
Like, how do I, like, this is what I was going to talk about too. I was going to bring this up. I have a note here. How do I take my normie clients and introduce spiritual concepts about the shift? And this is what I'm being tested on like right now. And today I brought up the shift, and I said, in a way, you can tell that there's two different kinds of people on this planet right now. And I went on to explain basically the narcissistic approach, and then people like us who want to live in RVs and go travel. And that's where they're at too. And they're right along the lines, like, and they're literally young, sitting on my couch working on their relationship. Like, at their age, I was just getting sober. I had just got sober. I was trying to learn how to live. I was being rehabilitated or habilitated because I never learned to begin with. I raised myself on the street. So I didn't really have knowledge of paying rent, cooking, doing laundry. I mean, other people did that shit for me. I was living on the streets and stuff and running amok. So yeah, how do I take clients and make them spiritual? Like, I'm like,
don't dumb it down, be authentic, and something will trigger. Something will trigger them, because if you dumb yourself down to be able to relate to them, then you are bringing yourself
But I
down to a
have
lower
to a
level.
point
You have to,
have,
no, there's a difference between relating and speaking their language and silencing yourself. So speak their language, but be authentic in what you're saying.
that's the thing. Yeah. So it's pretty
Yeah, that's a
I
test.
get to, and this came out today because I was like, my guide, because I channel when I'm doing things. I channel. I'm always connected to my higher self. So when I'm asking, and they're asking me or I'm giving advice, I'm tapped in, to a spiritual advisor at all times.
Well, they're there for your spiritual weirdness, let's just say. So be spiritually weird. You know what I mean? They didn't come to you because you're a therapist. They didn't come to you because you're, going to give them a mom and pop answer. They came to you because you can see something. They can see that in you. So be authentic, but don't go on tangents. Don't go down rabbit holes. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. Like, I'm going to get them turned on to their horoscopes because I want them to. I asked them, do you want to learn about each other? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm going to pull up your horoscopes so you guys can see your zodiac charts. You can literally look at how the other person loves in your love language, because we have a Venus sign, and our Venus, mine is Leo. That is how I love. And a lot of times us women will have a Venus sign, right? Well, the person, our person or whatever is that sign. Let's say their sun sign is Leo, it'll be my Venus sign. You see what I'm saying? Like, that is a compatible.
I'll have to go look that up. I'm not as versed in the horoscope stuff. It's still like overwhelming for me.
I've been learning that stuff since I was a child. Like, when I was way younger, when we could buy books from, like, I don't know, Columbia House or some shit, we had the book one. There was a book one, and I got a horoscope encyclopedia, and like I was all into that stuff. Like, I could literally pick people and I could name their sun sign, and I was like, I would say about 85% correct on that. Because also I didn't know about rising, and I didn't know about Venus. I didn't know about moon sign or any of it at the time. I only was going based on sun sign. But now it makes more sense when I was reading my horoscopes, and some of the other ones resonated with me. See, and that was also a thing too. So it's just everybody has their own journey.
And for me, like, I see it as like there's like I'm here and there's walls, and when I'm ready to learn something, the wall comes down and then it makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Like right now I'm over here and I'm like it's like Chinese, but then all of a sudden when that veil lifts, all of a sudden I can speak Mandarin, and I'm going,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like when I started reading the Nag Hammadi, and all of a sudden quantum physics started like adding up in my brain, and I'm going, how do I know this? You know what I'm saying? Like we know we have this ancient knowledge in us, and when we're ready for that veil to lift, it will make sense. So for me, the astrology, there's still a veil there that it just is like I get so confused, and I start getting into it, and I'm like, my brain scrambles. So this is for the people that astrology does this to. It's okay. Maybe we're just not meant to go in that direction right this second.
Yeah.
And then, so maybe we're meant to have other people do that kind of thing and share it with us, and we can open up and learn from that. But when something you're meant to know it, you're not going to get that brain scramble. You're not going to have to fight, and it just all of a sudden clicks. So that's kind of how you know to go in that direction. So for you,
yeah, that's a good indicator. That's a good indicator, because I was doing the same thing, and I was like, and my guides were like, you don't have to do everything. You can, you can not dictate. Whatever, you can give those jobs to other people. Like for my business, because I'm good at coaching. But there are other, like, I don't need to learn hypnotherapy. There's other people that can do that.
I'm on the other way where I'm going, I would like to learn that. You know what I mean? I would like to be able to help people.
That's how I feel about human design. Like human design, and there's another one, human design and something else. It's like reading Greek for me. I don't get it, but there's people for that. You see, that's why. And then like the zodiac chart, I can't understand that, but there's people for that. And that's the coolest part. Just like you're saying, it's
Yeah.
okay to
Well,
not.
we're all wired differently. We all have our different gifts and our different talents. We're not all meant to know every single thing all at the same time. Now, I'm not saying that we don't have access to those things. We can put in a request with the universe and say, hey, I'd really like to know this. Can you help me to break down the barriers, remove the obstacles? Ask Ganesha to remove that
It's
obstacle
almost like
so
being
that you can
attuned.
pursue this.
Like they attune you for it. It's like being attuned, and like some people can sing. Not everyone can sing.
But
It's a talent.
some people can draw. Not everybody can draw. Some people, I am an artist, but I'm not very good at art. If that makes sense. I have art in my soul and I can't get it out. There's so, like I want to draw these things, I want to make these things, and they don't ever look like what they look like in my mind. So it's not that, some of us are that's why I use a lot of digital art and make mandalas, because I can express the energy that's coming out of me where I can't physically, sometimes I can draw some things, but I'm not great at it. It's more of like light language and scribbles and, but I still identify as an artist. I still consider myself an artist because I have this energy inside. I just don't have the ability to express it the way I
And
want.
you are though, because being an artist there's many forms of being an artist. There's drawing, there's painting, but I can't draw people. I suck at drawing people. I could draw maybe silhouette, but other than that, I'm not good at that. Other than I can do animals, I could draw everything,
Yeah,
except
I mean, I can draw that kind of thing. What I'm talking about, because I'm working on these tarot cards right now, and just drawing the people. Oh my gosh, there's a mental block there. So I'm deciding to go in the oracle card direction right now because I get my brain scrambled and I get overwhelmed and I'm like, oh, I can't do this. And
yep,
like we said before, that's just not the direction to go in right
yeah,
this second. So
exactly.
um, but I didn't have a chance to really talk about my QHHT session, so maybe we can talk about that next time.
I'm gonna do
Because
another one time. I don't care who's home when I do them anymore, so it doesn't matter what
yeah,
day. I don't care. Um, yeah, that part's good because I want to hear all.
yeah, because I like the direction that this kind of went into. We talked about quite a bit of things today. Covered some good topics, going from doubt to forgiveness and traumas and dealing with our traumas. I mean, really, we kind of went in the right direction because we're seeing where those triggers are coming from, and then how to deal with them. So I like the direction that we went into today. My QHHT session. For anybody that doesn't know, what they do is they take you through like a past life regression, and then or what happened with me is I went through a past life regression where I saw myself in these different lives. And it was just short, it was just short and to the point. It wasn't, an extensive. There are some that take hours. This was just I think it was an hour and a half, maybe an hour. And you can go back for more, but it was just opening the doorway. So it takes you back through different past lives, and then healing different ailments in my body, that kind of thing. So I'm sure there's different ways to do it with different practitioners. The girl that I did it with, Chantel Despain, she's on Facebook for anybody that's interested in finding out more. Or you can go onto DoloresCannon.com and find a local practitioner near you. So
Taliwa. Is that
what?
Taliwa? Chantel Taliwa.
No.
The same person.
No, Chantel Despain. No, completely different. No. We're not going down. We're not going down that road.
Yeah, let's not. I didn't know. That's why I clarified. I'm sorry. I don't.
No. Yeah, I know exactly where
I'm
you're
not
going
saying
with that.
anything
No,
bad at all. I'm not saying anything bad about anyone. Just saying at all.
no. It's completely different. But yeah.
Yeah, no,
So
there are certain techniques, but they're taught that part. And you know what? I get that, but I feel like, God, I feel like I've done it in past lives so many times. But anyway, oh, that's what I was going to talk about. Because then when we do that, we'll talk about like our lineage, because we're like, that's something I was going to touch on too. Is I had a past life reading once, and it was Mayan. I was Mayan, and then it took me until like last week to realize my middle name is Rene, and I do have Mexican or Spanish heritage.
Yeah, I can see
I
that.
didn't know that. Like, I'm like, can we not throw? Can we just throw anything else on the top? We got Scottish, right? Irish. We got Russian. We got Ukraine. We got Germany. We got Native American, and now we have Spanish heritage. I said, you guys are crazy. Did you think who the hell do I think I am? Like, honestly. Why? But just realizing my middle name being Rene and I was like, oh my God, there it is. I was looking for the tie to.
Oh, you're cutting
It's
out.
like,
I don't know. Okay. Sorry, it cut out for a second. I couldn't hear you.
no, I don't know, but I guess we're wrapping it up anyway. We'll bring that stuff up next time.
Gonna come bursting through that door any second now. But yeah, but real quick as we sign off, I have a nice little book that I picked up with some little spells, 1,001 spells. I got it at a Spirit Halloween store, and I was flipping through and looking for different, because I like to do kind of where you just flip through like a oracle card where you just flip and find. And the same page came up twice. So the only reason that I didn't want to do this one because it says Thursday afternoon during the waxing moon. Well, we're in a waning moon right now, so I'm guessing that Spirit's saying it's okay because the page came up 2 times. Let's go ahead with it. It's a health and abundance tree to empower your home, its boundaries, and all within. You will need a brush or tree from outdoors or a smaller one indoors in a large pot. So I have a tree that's right outside. I've got a little tree in here too. And then you need a stone fruit, a fruit with a stone inside, so like a peach. A peach would work, or something. Maybe I don't know. Is avocado a fruit? That's not a fruit, is it?
I think it is
Is it a
because
fruit? Okay, so an avocado, a peach, something with an apricot, something with a stone inside.
Okay.
Is that considered a stone? I don't know. I guess you can for upper interpretation. I have peaches, so that's what I'm going to use. It says timing Thursday afternoon during the waxing moon. We're going to go ahead and supplement that with the waning moon because this is all about intention, and we're allowed to mix things up. You don't necessarily have to follow everything by the book. Do things the way that your intuition says. Okay, the spell. Hold the fruit in your open cupped hands and say, "May health, wealth, abundance, and plenty grow. May my larder, food store never empty, and my home be filled with peace and sanctity. Eat the fruit and repeat the words. Plant the stone beneath the tree or bush, saying abundance spread, abundance shed on every boundary and room, that there will be enough and more when next October I see the waning moon." We're going to change it to waning moon. Okay. So for anybody that is here or that is watching this later, you can pause, come back, hear that again. I'm going to hold it up just in case you want to pause it and
pause it and copy it.
Pause and copy.
Perfect.
So, all right, but yeah, we can find these nice little things everywhere we go. I found this Spirit Halloween store, which is, they usually have a nice little treasure trove, just a couple of little things every year. I'll go there and find. Last year I found my Crystal Witch book. So they have some interesting stuff. People think it's not, this kind of stuff is not in mainstream. You can find little tidbits at TJ Maxx. If you're looking for tarot cards, they've got them at Marshall's sometimes. They've got crystals. So it's becoming more awakened in whether people know it or not. We can find tools anywhere.
It's true. So I agree with you. And yeah, I'm not really getting anything. I did draw cards earlier, but
I know I drew cards too, and it's the one that I pulled said, "You're not the center of the universe," and I said, "I don't like this. I don't like what you're telling me." So I knocked the deck and put a selenite stick on it. I am the center of the universe. I
I'm the
am the universe, but we all are,
yes, I'm the center of my own universe, but I'm not the center of everyone else's.
Yeah. I am the center of my universe, I
I
think,
do so.
yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, I got Eight of Cups, which is basically leaving for something better, Eight of Cups, leaving for something better. And I feel like this is the theme of what the energy, because the current energy is basically a lot of people are choosing what they want to keep in their life, and moving away from that it's not serving. Like you're done feeling like you don't fit in. But I got the Lovers card, you guys. I feel like we're getting new partnerships. New people are coming in with ideas because everything else is falling apart. This is the world, you guys. The Matrix is crumbling. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing it in real time where things are like, whoa, whoa.
And the glitches are going to happen more often. Ordinariness is going to be like, there is nothing ordinary anymore. I shared something along the lines of our bodies are receiving upgrades for a world that doesn't exist yet. How exciting is that? We're being prepared for a world that doesn't exist yet, but it's coming. It's here soon. It is slow progress, though. The Knight of Pentacles is slow, extremely slow moving energy. And I feel like some people are moving slow, but right now, with as much as the synchronicities and the numbers, they have picked up so much. Anything else? Oh, yeah. When I pulled this card, you were talking about ending cycles. It was like,
Yeah.
which is the world. And the world card is ending cycles. The world is turning. So
Oh, that's funny. I was spinning my crystal as you're saying that.
that's awesome. I love it. But the world is turning, and karma's spinning. Like, what am I trying to say?
Sorry, spinning. Got you spinning now.
My brain is spinning.
Here, we'll get you to focus there. Some third eye.
Yeah, tuning right here. Tune in. No, you guys, all I know is the flood of information has occurred. All right. The flood of information is something that I got from Allison Co. when she did a hypnotherapy on a client that actually witnessed the solar flash. And one of the questions she asked the client was,
oh yeah, you sent that to me. Yeah, that was really good.
How can we tell that it's close? What's a good indicator for us to tell that it's close?
Satellite, right? Didn't
They said, nope. She said this. Well, this is a while back.
I'm trying to remember what it was.
She said, well, the client said it was a flood of information. A whole bunch of information comes out, and basically floods. And I think that has begun. And the reason I say that is because all the information that I tried to share when I first woke up is now being shared on TikTok, Reels, on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and it's everywhere. We're talking all of it. Like literally you have channels sharing the tablet information and our origins, and then over here you have the truther information, the truth sayer.
Then you got the it's a damn shame. You know what I mean? Like everybody's got this, like, they're sick of it. Yeah, so maybe they're not at the point of realizing that we're one or all of this spiritual stuff, but there is something going on in the world that is triggering people to say enough is enough, and we don't want this shit happening anymore. And I think that's what people are saying, that we've reached critical mass of people saying, and this is important. I want to say this real quick. This is important, that we have to, first of all, say that we're not consenting to this. And then second of all, say that this, and declare this, that this is impeding on my free will. What others are doing in the government, in the world, is impeding in my free will, on my free will. and this is not what I will for my life. And so because they are impeding on my free will, I am requesting divine assistance. And if enough of us say that and feel that, and you just think it, if that is what is getting us to critical mass, is people are speaking out and saying, this is not okay with me. I cannot afford to feed my family. I am not okay with children being scooped up and islands being burned. I'm not okay with this kind of thing. And people are opening their eyes and saying,
they need to be accountable. People need to be accountable for their shit. The government, I can't even say that without, I don't want to incite anything. So all we need to do is remember, united we stand, divided we fall. If there's any type of anything happens, we meet on Saturdays in the library. We always shared that a long time ago. So if any communications or anything like that, we meet at the library every Saturday. That's where we meet. So it just is, and united we stand. People need to remember that the people are the ones with all of the POWER.
Sorry, I said it.
It's okay. You're allowed to. I just don't want to.
But we're powerful, and we have to remember it. And I'm not saying take up arms powerful. I'm saying powerful in your statements. I'm not saying, I'm saying declare, command, pull your power back to you, call your power back to you, and speak, this is not okay with me. When people start to wake up, they get into this feeling of, okay, that's terrible, but what can I do? You can do everything. You have the power. So when you start feeling that, oh my gosh, I can't believe this, and you start going into that, what is that called? Cognitive dissension or dissonance. Yeah, cognitive dissonance. When you start going into that, that's part of this, and you'll come out of it. You know what I mean? We kind of go into this like, I can't, I don't want to, and then you come awake to it. You know what I mean? Like, I think at first, when we first wake up, our mind goes through this break, and we're like, I don't know what's real. So
kind of scary, but and that's where they would like, when you get broken open like that, you need to find someone that you trust to follow and listen to. Don't, because they're going to try to pick those people up because they're extremely what's the word?
And that's what happens too. You have to learn, ask for your discernment and divine truth to be turned on, for your vision to be clear. That's very important, for asking for divine discernment, because there are a lot of people out there who are working in the shadow of light. And I say the shadow of light because they use light as a front, and underneath it's dark. So they use all of these trigger words and things that sound all happy, and the I am statement, Saint Germain, this blah blah blah, whatever. And then you go deeper into it, and they're taking you into Luciferianism, and it's going, wait a minute. And I'm speaking from experience. This is what happened to me. Is I'm like, oh, this is light. I see light. I feel light. I love this energy. And then, I get introduced to, oh, why don't you come over here into our initiation and be initiated into this? And then I'm reading it, and I'm going, that's not the same. That doesn't feel the same. What's going on here? And then I realized that I had been like broadcasting this to everybody else around me, saying, oh, join this, like being their little spokesperson. Now everybody's looking at me like, oh, she's a Luciferian. And I'm going, wait a minute, no, I'm not. I got tricked. I got duped.
Yeah, the truth, you know the truth, and you know who to follow by how it makes you feel.
Yeah. So, but if you wind up down a dark path, just turn around. You know what I mean? Like, it's, as long as there's breath in you, you haven't gone so far. It doesn't matter what anybody has on you. It doesn't matter, because you're powerful. Anybody can say anything, but you are the truth. Anyway, with that, I hear the bus pulling up. I have to go.
I'll see you later.
Everyone. See you next week, or whenever we get together again. All right.
Exactly. Bye.